Hey guys, so we're moving into 5.0. We're going to be talking about economics, and in 5.01 you're looking at those fundamental economic concepts, and we're going to go through these notes together because there's a whole lot in it, so I want to make sure that you understand, the major concepts in this. First thing is distinguishing between economic goods and services. I think y'all probably know the difference between a want and a need. A want is just something that we have unlimitedly. I have a want for everything, to be honest with you. I want all kinds of stuff. So it's something we have a desire for, but a need is something that we have to have in order to survive. So it could be food, water, shelter, those type things. It's real hard sometimes to discern between what is a want and what is a need. For example, I live in Cana. Our school's in Pilot Mountain. So I live in Virginia. I work in Pilot Mountain. I need a car to get me to work every day. But do I need a Lamborghini? No, that would be a want. So you can have something that may be a need and a want, depending on what it is, but you have to discern between what it is you just have to have as a basic need, and then when you go beyond that, what becomes a want or a desire. So you see here we've got listed goods, services, consumer goods, and industrial goods. A good is something that you can touch, you can feel it. So for example, I'm sitting here talking to you on this computer. I can touch and feel this computer. It is a tangible object. A service, on the other hand, is you can't really feel it, okay? If I go get my nails done, that's a service. Can I touch my nails? Yes. I mean, my nails are there. But what they did was the service. If I get my hair cut, I can touch my hair, but the haircut itself is a service. So it's a little bit different. Your cell phone, the service that you get on your cell phone, that's a service. Consumer goods, those things that are used for personal use. For example, like I was talking about this computer. This computer is a consumer good. I use it for personal use. Now, industrial goods are used by industries or industrial users. And we're going to get a little bit deeper into that, so don't get, too hung up on it yet. And this is not quite covering the top of the screen, but I think you can see enough. Define and describe resources in economics, and you're looking at 4 different ones here. And the first one is natural resources. So with natural resources, it's anything that's used from nature in order to produce goods and services. So if it's something that is used, if you use trees, if you use air, if you use land, that's all natural resources. And so any of those things that are used, I'm going to move myself right up here. How y'all like that? Any of those things that are used in order to produce those goods and services that come from natural resources. Human resources are the actual people. They are anybody who's in there working to produce those goods and services. And that can be a lot of different, people in a lot of different positions. It says they're valued for the physical and mental work that they do. Then you have capital goods, anything that is used in order to produce those, and it's manufactured or it's constructed. So if you've got a building where you house your inventory, if you've got tractor trailers that you transport your inventory, if you've got machinery, that type of equipment, any of those things would be considered capital goods. And then you have factors of production, and factors of production are just all those things together. All those things, natural, human, and capital goods, all brought together. That's your factors of production. Get this thing to move. There we go. Alright, so this is just going to go a little bit deeper into those that we just talked about. I don't know. I'm going to move on to the next slide. You can look at this more in detail if you want to. I don't see the point in us going to it any further right there. So economics is the study of how to meet unlimited wants, which is what we have, with limited resources. Scarcity is when you have people who want all this product, but you don't have enough of the product to fulfill the need. And then one other thing I want to notice on here is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is basically, it's when you give up one thing in order to have something else. So what was the cost of the thing that you gave up? That's going to be your opportunity cost. And then you have trade-offs, and that's just, choosing one thing over another. You give up one thing in order to get something else. We do that a lot in all walks of life. We give up one thing, we take something else. But the opportunity cost is different because it's the cost of the thing that you gave up. This is going to go a little deeper into scarcity. I'm going to let you kind of look at that as you're going through your assignments. But just remember, scarcity happens when we want a lot of this thing and there's not enough of it to go around. So, for example, if I'm running a bakery and I'm making this really killer chocolate brownie, and everybody in town is wanting that chocolate brownie, but there's just me, basically running this bakery, I'm only going to be able to produce so many of it. So we're going to have a scarcity issue. If it's a really popular item and everybody wants it, and I can't fulfill that need or that desire, then we've got scarcity. 3 economic questions that you have in all societies are what to produce, how to produce, and then how to allocate it. So what to produce, you have to decide what it is that your business is going to put out. So what are the goods, what are the services that the business is going to have? And then how are you going to get them? What are ways that you're going to produce it? And you want to find the most cost-efficient way, right? Because you're out there to make money. If you're not in business to make money, which there are some businesses that aren't, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But if you're not in business to make money, then I'm not sure why you would be doing it. And then how to allocate. It has to be determined how those goods and services are going to be distributed among the people. Okay, so you have to decide how that's going to happen. Consumption, consumer, production, producer, and exchange, and also distribution. It's important to know all of these vocabulary terms. Consumption is when you use up the good or service. The consumer is the person who is actually using the good or service. And I want to stop right there for a minute and just say, consumer and customer are 2 different things. And I'm going to tell you why. I can go to the grocery store and buy, I don't know, what am I going to buy? NyQuil. Need NyQuil at night to help you be able to sleep because you got a cold, okay? If I go to the store and I buy the NyQuil, I'm the customer, right? I'm the customer. I'm going through the line. I've got the NyQuil. I check out. But if I bring it home and I actually bought it for my mother-in-law and she uses it, she's the consumer. So at that point, I am not the consumer. I'm just the customer. If I went to the store and I bought the NyQuil, I'm the customer again, right? And I bring it home and I actually use it myself, then I'm the consumer as well. So you can be the customer and the consumer, or you can just be one of the 2. Production is actually just that process of making the good or service. You have the producer, which is whoever it is that is making it. The exchange is trading good or service one for another. And then distribution is moving, storing, and getting that product out there where it needs to be. So transferring ownership of it from the ones that are making it, the ones that are distributing it, to the actual person that's going to be buying it or using it. This thing's been difficult. There we go. So this, there again, is just going to go a little bit deeper into those terms we were just talking about. And I, of course, am not going to read all this, but if you need more information, it is on this slide for you to be able to use it. Looking at utility, there are forms of utility, different types of utility that you need to know and understand. It moved me down here a little bit. I get in all this writing right here. It's hard to see me. Form utility, anytime that you've altered or changed the product or the good and you make it more useful, you're looking at form utility. And you're talking about something that's tangible, okay? Also, you have place utility. Where's that product being stored? Where is it needed? Where are they wanting it mostly? So you want to make sure that when you're talking about place utility, it's going to be put in the best place to be seen. Okay, so if we're talking about in a grocery store, I'll tell you this. How many of you know that when you go around the end of the row and into another row, right there on the end of the row, they have displays. Those displays are called end caps. And marketers pay a lot of money to be able to use those end caps. And the reason is when you're turning that corner and you're going around to go in that next row, you pay attention to what's on the end of that row. And sometimes you see things that maybe you weren't even going to buy to begin with, but because it's right there, you pick it up. So you notice it more because of where it is. The other thing that companies do, and they pay bigger money for, is when you walk through the grocery store, there are things that are at eye level on a shelf. If something is on the grocery store shelf and it's way up high or it's way down low, we don't tend to see it as much as we do the things that are eye level. So companies pay more to be able to put that product in places where you're going to see it more because you're more apt to buy it. What do you do when you're waiting in line to check out? Walmart, grocery store, whatever. You're standing in line. You're looking at all the stuff that's right there to check out because what else are you going to do? You're just standing there waiting to check out. So those are prime spots to be able to put products so that you can see it. And like I said, companies want that. They'll pay more to be able to place their products in those places. That is all part of place utility. Time utility. Making sure that the timing's right for you to get those products out there for the customer. Now, different products require different types of time. If you're talking about products that, I'm going to move again. If you're talking about products such as produce, meats, anything that is in the grocery store that has a consumable date on it, so you know your milk's going to expire, your lettuce is going to go bad, your meat is going to expire. Those type things, they really have to look at time utility a lot. Anything that has an expiration date, you got to make sure that you have it where it can be used, where it can be consumed, in the amount of time needed before you're going to lose that product. Then you have possession utility. This is when your ownership's being transferred from the person who made it or the seller to the person who's going to be using it, the purchaser or the buyer, consumer, customer, whatever. So, and you also, possession utility changes, it's going from the person who makes it, right, to a truck or a delivery company, then to, who knows, it may go from that to a store, then from the store to the consumer. So there can be a lot of things involved in that possession as far as who's got possession of the product. All right. So this is that the utility varies. Levels of satisfaction change, right? There are 4 types of utility. We've just gone over those utilities, different ones. You got product, place, price. I can't even remember now. But anyhow, the ones that we were just talking about. So all those forms of utility, and they look at different things. So how does marketing influence that utility? You're trying to connect your sellers to your buyers, okay? Pretty much that's what you're doing. And marketing is huge in any type of product that you're talking about. They have to know about the product in order to want the product or to purchase the product. So marketing comes in with all those different ways that you're going to let them know that your product's out there. It could be through an outdoor billboard. It could be an ad in a magazine. It could be an article in a newspaper. It could be giving people coupons or buy 12, get one free. I do this in my own business. I just started again for this season of Christmas. If you buy 12 pieces of jewelry, you get a piece of jewelry free. So you do things to make people aware. Even using social media. I give free gifts to have drawings and do free gifts to people who share my live shows so that it lets my live show be out there where more people can see it. So you can see I'm marketing to be able to get my business out there and seen by more people so that more people want to come in, spend money, and I make more in the long run. So that's all part of marketing. Marketing has a lot in it. So you can see here it says what the consumer thinks, which is at the heart of the marketing concept. You got to make the consumer happy, okay, to keep things going. We're going to skip on through here just a little bit. Demand, the quantity, which means how many of that good or the service that people are ready to buy at a given price. Pricing's a little difficult. If we price too high, people think that's too expensive and it's out of my range. If you price too low, sometimes people think, well, it must not be a good product if they're not going to charge any more than that. So you got to get somewhere in the medium. You've got law of demand here, economic principle that states that the quantity of a good or service that people will buy varies inversely with the price. And we know that's true. Some things, if it's too expensive, we're not going to purchase it. And just like I said, if some things are too inexpensive, we think it must not be a good product, so we're not going to purchase it then either. The supply is how much of that good or service that people are willing to buy. And then you got your law of supply and law of supply and demand. Your law of supply says that the quantity of the good or service that will be offered varies in direct relation to the price. And then your law of supply and demand says that the supply of a good or service will increase when the demand is great and it will decrease when the demand is low. So when people aren't wanting it as much, you're not putting as much out there. When they're wanting more, you're putting more out there. This could be seasonal sometimes. For example, are you going to sell a whole lot of skis? Are you going to sell a whole lot of skis during the summer months? Probably not. People aren't thinking about snow and skiing then. But during the winter months, people want to go to ski resorts and, do things like that. So you're going to increase how much you're putting out there when your demand is greater, which would be during those winter months. The buyer's market, the best time for people to buy, usually has a large supply, small demand, low prices. Seller's market is the best time for producers to sell. Now you hear about buyers and sellers market a whole lot when you're talking about real estate. So kind of pay attention if you're listening to things. And a lot of what's happening in our economy, they determine by how real estate is going. Elasticity is one that you're going to need to understand. It's knowing how the changes in price are going to affect how much of the product that you're selling or getting out there or supplying. And then elastic demand for products in which the changes in price correspond to the changes in demand. There are some things when the price goes up, if it's elastic, when the price goes up, people don't buy it. So for example, movie tickets at the cinema. If the price goes up to $30 a ticket, I'm not going to buy a ticket. I'm not going to the movie theater. Okay? So that in contrast to the inelastic demand. When you have inelastic demand, the change in price does not affect the demand. Here's an example. I have to go to work every day. If the price of gas goes up, I have to pay for the gas, okay? Because I have to have a car. I have to be able to go to work and make money, right? So that's inelastic. Even when they raise the price of gas, I still have to buy the gas to be able to go. So in inelastic, the price can change. The demand stays the same, or at least pretty close. When you have elastic demand, think about a rubber band, okay? A rubber band is elastic. It moves, it changes, right? So think about when that elasticity, when it changes how much I'm going to buy. But if it's inelastic, which means that it will not stretch, okay, then when that price changes, I still have to have it, and I'm still going to have a desire, a need for that product or that service, and I'm still going to buy it. Gas is just one of them. It can be all kinds of things. Food is another thing. Now, if Oreos goes up to $10 a bag, I'm probably not going to buy Oreos. But there are certain types of food that we have to have and we'll continue to buy. Milk is probably a good example, because they can go up on milk. I still have to have milk for a lot of things. So I'm still going to buy milk, or, in some shape, form, or fashion. I'm still going to have that demand there for the milk. So just make sure you understand the difference between that elastic and inelastic. Price, how much you're going to pay. We talked about price a little bit already. We do place value by price sometimes on a good or a service. And so our price in the United States, of course, is expressed in dollars and cents. I think we're seeing a change in our economy. Y'all are probably hearing stuff that there's a shortage on change, and you're seeing people want you to use a card more. So I don't know. That's one of those things we'll have to watch and see how that goes. Relative prices, one price compared to another, or the ratio between two. The example they give here is a cappuccino at the local donut shop is $2, while at Starbucks it's $4. The relative price ratio is 1 to 2. If the price is decreased to 1 and 2, then the relative price ratio will remain unchanged. It's still 1 to 2. But if the cappuccino price is doubled to 4 and 8, the relative price is still the same, right? It's 1 to 2. What happens if the cappuccino changes to 3 and the one at Starbucks is still 4? Then it's not 1 to 2 anymore, right? So we don't have that same ratio. So that ratio can change depending on what the prices are. But it's comparing one to another. So this chart compares the prices of pizza and movies. You can look over that chart. I'm not going to go too deep in that right now. And this, there again, is just telling you more about the impact of changes when you're talking about prices. Price does play a part in what we're producing, how we're producing, and how it's going to be allocated. And you have to make sure that you're covering all your bases to be able to cover the cost of producing your product, being able to transport the product, and get it into the consumer's hands. Pricing is very important. So it's one of those things you have to pay a lot of attention to. Substitution. Places will do this. They will substitute a product with another product if they don't have what the customer's needing. Also, you have rationing explained on here. And that's when they kind of put a limitation on how much you can get of a good or a service, depending on if there's scarcity in it. We've seen rationing with gas before because there was a scarcity, and so they had to ration how much each person could get. I think that's all on that slide. This just talks about how the pricing is determined. I'll let y'all look over that. The equilibrium price, I want you to think about equal. It means that you've got to come to a point where the buyer or the seller has set the price point at a place where the buyer is willing to buy it. So it's equal. They're asking a price, you're accepting that price, and that makes it equal. Excess supply means that you're making more than what's being demanded. Excess demand means that there's more demand than there is supply, and that's what causes a scarcity. And then you've got market price. It's whatever the price is at that particular time, so in the market. And that's all of your slides. That's a lot, but I think maybe that'll help just a little bit. If you have questions about any of the concepts or the vocabulary that I just talked about, be sure and reach out to me and send me a message and let me know. I've tried to explain in class. I am never upset about getting a message from you. I had rather hear from you if you don't understand. All right, guys, I hope you have a good week. Let me hear from you. And have a good holiday on Wednesday. Bye now.